Hi, I'm Dawn Wade at thelittlestdetail.com, and today I'm going to be showing you how to make a really cool design board to put on the inside door of your ultimate sewing box. What you'll need for this design board is foam core, some tacky spray, some fun command hooks. You'll need fabric, measuring tape, batting that you can use for any scraps from your old quilts or just whatever you have lying around, as long as it's big enough to cover your piece of foam core. And of course your sewing machine, your ruler, your cutting mat, the usual stuff that you'll need to do all of your sewing projects with. Okay, so what you want to do is you want to go ahead and measure the inside part of the inside door of your ultimate sewing box. So just take your tape measure, place it on the inside of the door, and mine it measures 15 3/8. Now yours might be a little bit different, so go ahead and measure the width and the height, and then you can meet me back at the cutting mat. So now that you're back at your cutting table, you want to go ahead and cut your foam core with an X-Acto knife and a straight edge. I'm just using my old quilting ruler. So what we want to go ahead and do is whatever your door measured, take off 1/8 of an inch. And that'll ensure that the quilting board fits directly in there and there won't be any extra puffiness. You'll see when we get there. So I'm just gonna take this and carefully cut. Make sure you put your cutting mat underneath, because that would be a really sad day if you didn't. You don't want to cut into your table. That is no bueno. Okay. Now we have a board the exact size as the inside of our door. Let's just dry measure it just to make sure. Now that we have our foam core all cut to the size that we need, we're going to go into a well-ventilated area like outside and spray some spray adhesive right into the top. Make sure you bring your batting with you, because while the adhesive is still wet, you want to go ahead and lay out your batting onto the foam core so that it lays nice and flat. Next, flip this guy over, and we are literally just going to cut it off right along the edges using our rotary cutter and a ruler. And this is where your scraps of batting really come into good use. So you could actually make mini design boards for your friends for like Christmas and stuff. I'll show you a little later what it would look like. Now this is where the design board really can get a lot of personality and really just get super fun and add a lot of color to your ultimate sewing box. Adding some fabric seam binding around the edge. This fabric is by Moda. This one's called So and So by Chloe's Closet. I don't know if it's in print anymore, but it's one of my faves. You could choose whatever you want. Just make it your own. So all we need to do to the fabric is cut 2.5 inch strips. Easy, simple, and done. So go ahead and line up your fabric and your ruler. And just cut some strips. And I would say 4 to 5 strips should be plenty. Okay. Then we have our 2.5 inch strips cut. We want to go ahead and cut off the selvage edge, which is the edge of the fabric that has like the little holes and stuff in it. So just go ahead and take your scissors and just cut that right off, just like so. Scraps go in the scrap bin. And next what we're going to do is go to the sewing machine, and we are actually going to sew these together. And what we're going to be doing, let me get my stiletto here, is actually sewing from this corner here straight to this corner here. Now I have a little trick for you that uses my favorite thing of multi-crafting, and we're going to use this fancy thing called washi tape actually in our sewing to help us sew a straight edge without actually marking the edge, which is awesome and also time saving. So we're just going to pin these guys together, and we're going to take it to the sewing machine. Go ahead and lay your washi tape down so that it matches where your stitch line ends on your sewing machine, and it'll just come right up. See, you can just peel that right off when you're done with this. What you want to do is line up this corner. Line up this corner with the edge of your needle. Put your pressure foot down, and then line this corner up with the very edge of your washi tape. Keep this corner on this edge of this washi tape, and you'll have a perfectly straight line that goes all the way down here without marking, and it is so awesome. Go down that line, making sure that that corner matches up with that edge of that washi. And we have a nice sewn edge. Is just go ahead and cut this corner off 1/4 of an inch away from your stitch line. Okay, so next what we're going to do is, using our iron, we're going to press open those seams that we just had sewn. You want to do that for all of the seams all along your whole entire length of fabric. Next is the fun part. Take your strip and fold it in half. Now you want to take the iron and iron the whole entire strip in half. Now this doesn't have to be very crisp seam. We're just basically using this as a guide to make our seam binding. So just do that along your entire strip until you've reached the end. And I'm just going to skip to the next step so you can kind of see how this goes. You don't want to watch me iron this whole entire strip in half because that's just boring and not good television. So then what we want to do is fold the raw edges into where that crease is that we just made onto our fabric. And iron that. It's great to start it. I usually anchor it with something heavy just to hold it in place. Hold it. And iron. Now I like to use plenty of steam on this. These are seams that we want to keep. And then if this is like too hot, too hot, you know, don't burn your fingers off. You want to use your little seam roller and you really get those crisp edges. Or if, you know, your fabric doesn't get as hot, you can just do it with your fingers. My fingers are a little sensitive, so. You know, just want to do that along the entire strip of fabric. And that's how you make seam binding. Now you could buy pre-made seam binding if you want, but those just come in boring solid colors, and you know, you want something cute. If you're gonna make this for a gift or for your ultimate sewing box to put on the inside of that door, you want it to look cute. Next what we want to do is we want to set our sewing machine to a zigzag stitch. On my machine, it is a number 9, and it doesn't matter the stitch length. What you want to make sure though is that the stitches go from side to side, so zigzag stitch. I've also seen where you could make this with a decorative stitch, and it's really cute. So all these stitches up here, decorative stitches, just have fun with it. And we're just sewing this area together. Now, it may seem like, oh, this is kind of a waste of time, Dawn. Why are you doing that? I guarantee it'll make it easier in the end. Plus, it's just more fun. There's a little decorative stitch edge on your design board. I mean, come on. Who doesn't want that? We're going to take our already zigzagged strips of fabric, and we're going to use our hot glue gun and glue it right along the very edge of our foam core. Battinged foam core. Is that even a word? I think it is, maybe. I'm making it up. But what you want to do, don't start in a corner, start in the middle on a long side. So working in small sections, go ahead and glue the zigzagged edge to the very edge of the foam core. And you just go along the whole entire piece of foam core with your fabric seam binding. Now you know why we put the zigzag on there. It's a lot easier to tell where your middle is if you have the zigzag on there. And I mean, look how cute that is. Can you imagine that in a decorative stitch? I just love the contrast between the colors of the fabric and the thread. It just adds a little something something. So now that we have our fabric glued all the way around our piece of foam core, what we want to do is cut this about 1 inch to 2 inches longer than where your edge is. Now, if you're going to make a smaller one of these to give as a gift, you can actually add a handle at this point by lifting up your fabric here, then cutting and then gluing. See how that becomes a little handle? It's great for when you're going to like a sewing retreat or something. So if you're making a small one as a gift, do that. But if you're making the big one for your scrap box, or I'm sorry, for your ultimate sewing box, you want to just go ahead and cut there. Now at this point you could add fray check here, or you can fold this under to create a closed edge. I'm going to use fray check because I don't like it to be very bulky on my ultimate sewing box. And then I'm just going to glue. Now we're going to take our glue gun and add a bead of glue right along the inside edge of your fabric. Just run a bead of glue and press it down. It works best if you do this in sections so that your glue doesn't dry in between. Just hold it down for a couple of seconds. And when you get to the corner, we're actually going to miter this corner just like we would miter your quilt binding. Add a drop of glue to that little corner there. Add your bead of glue on the other side and fold that one right on top of the other one. Hold it for a couple of seconds and you've got a perfect mitered edge. Now that we have all of the fabric and the design board all put together, we're going to attach it to the inside of our ultimate sewing box. And to do that, you need these things called command strips. So what we're going to do is just take the adhesive right off the command strips and put it right onto your door here. Board right into our door. Perfect. Now that our design board is in our door, you could use this to put your fabric up on your board to kind of audition different fabrics. Maybe this is this way, or this one is up here. Have fun with it, make it your own, make small ones for gifts, design boards, it's all the rage. Have fun.